Folks, we are just 90 subscribers away from 7,000 here on Bengals Breakdown. I would love nothing more than to get there before the start of NFL free agency next week. We'll have Bengals coverage for you on free agency. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. We've got some free agency rumors on tap today, beginning with a couple of former Bengals who could just find their way back to Cincinnati, or at least maybe one of them ends up doing that. The Jets are cutting tight end C.J. Uzomah, and a reunion actually does make plenty of sense for Cincinnati. While Uzomah had what I think is what we call an outlier season back in 2021 when he caught 49 passes for 493 yards at a 10.1 clip and 5 touchdowns, he got paid by the Jets a pretty good amount of money. Bengals end up going in a different direction. Ended up being Hayden Hurst, who we'll get to here in a minute, by the way. And then Uzomah didn't do that much in New York. 15 games played this year, 232 yards. His combined production was less than his good season in Cincinnati in 2021. He's a free agent. He'd be pretty cheap. And the Bengals have to sign or re-sign multiple tight ends this offseason. None of their top 4 players, both including Tanner Hudson, Drew Sample, Irv Smith, and Mitchell Wilcox, are free agents. So getting the old group back together again really does actually make sense for Cincinnati. And if it's not Uzomah, Hayden Hurst is also going to be a free agent. Now, Hurst is going to be released as a post-June 1st cut. It's contractual timing stuff, so the Bengals actually can't talk to him right now in the same way they would be able to discuss a potential contract with Uzomah right now. Not that it really matters that much, and if the Panthers wanted to say, yeah, Hayden, go talk to other teams, or there's not going to be any concerns about tampering because he's going to get cut. Hurst has some medical issues that are bigger red flags than Uzomah. Scary concussion history there for the former Bengals tight end. But of these two options, who I think would be fairly affordable for you, which one would you rather sign if you were the Bengals? CJ to bring back CJ Uzomah, or HH to bring back Hayden Hurst? It'll be the pinned comment on today's show, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let us know. Let's go more in depth here on the medicals for Hurst. Good news is that, per his own Instagram, Hurst said he was medically cleared to return at the end of the season after what was probably one of the scarier concussions, the lingering symptoms, I should say, that we've seen in the NFL for a long time. He missed 8 games with a concussion and was battling amnesia. So A, is the doctor going to say you're okay to play? But also from Hurst, do you want to continue to play? And are you mentally able to get over that hurdle knowing one more hit and you might have memory again two weeks from now? Like that's terrifying, to be quite honest. Now, he did not live up to expectations in Carolina, in part because of the injury and just the concussion stuff. And he had a good year with the Falcons in 2020, not so good in 2021. Got that cheap 1-year deal when the Bengals were having success with the journeyman tight end situation that they did not have success with this season. And then injuries and poor play limited him in Carolina. The Bengals were never going to pay Hurst what he cost Carolina last year. Now he's going to be way cheaper. You're talking 1-year deal, incentives, probably not that much guaranteed money, and the Bengals have to get more tight end help. They can't just roll it into the draft with, hey, we re-signed all 3 guys except for Irv Smith. That's not going to work. They use the tight ends too much. They target them too much to not be able to justify something being added. It could be a veteran that's cheaper, like a Hurst, like a Uzomah. It could be a more pricey one, Hunter Henry, maybe Noah Fant if you want to get aggressive. It can be a draft pick, but it's a thin-ish tight end class, and those guys often take time to develop anyway. What stands out most for Cincinnati is that signing Hurst, or one of the things, maybe not most, but signing Hurst and or Uzomah would not impact the Bengals comp pick formula. They're probably going to get a pretty premium pick for Jonah Williams. Now, that might get canceled out if they sign a defensive tackle or an offensive tackle, but they'll lose some other players, Tyler Boyd, Chidobe Awuzie. If you can sign a tight end and preserve even a 6th-round pick as opposed to signing a Hunter Henry or something, that is something the Bengals can and will take into consideration. Free agency is just around the corner, folks, and we will have you guys covered. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button for more free Bengals YouTube videos. Let's talk the future of Joe Mixon right now, as his decision will also be coming in the not-too-distant future. The $3 million roster bonus will be due on March 18th, so we'll say a week and a half-ish, almost 2 weeks before that. And they'll probably make that decision at or just before the start of actual NFL free agency. Here's how Mixon's contract breaks down. $8.85 million in terms of his cap hit, $6.1 million potentially to be saved, and a $2.75 million dead cap charge. Now, as part of a longer piece with The Athletic, Paul Denny mentioned this on his new podcast too, saying, the Bengals talked in the past tense about Joe Mixon. Now, the question itself was phrased past tense, so it could have just been, oh, you asked past tense, I'm going to answer past tense, not even realizing it. Under the radar, because we were there for it, they also mentioned Jonah Williams in the past tense too. So maybe not an accident, but here's what matters. Here's what Paul Dinner wrote. In more private conversations, the takeaway was, I truly don't believe this decision on Joe Mixon has been made yet. The roster bonus timing was put in because it was in the best interest of Mixon's camp and the Bengals, so it doesn't drag out as it did last year. Strong opinions have been voiced, of course, but the final verdict from the top still hangs in the balance. That top might be Mike Brown. I don't know why I did Paul. That was dumb of me. Might be Mike Brown, who has to make the call. He's always had a soft spot for Joe Mixon. It is a strong running back market. However, there is a long list of players who can be just as good, if not even a little bit better than Joe Mixon, who I don't think are going to command $6 million. I can find 4 yards per carry and a lack of explosive plays, 2 things the Bengals want to improve on, for less than $6 million. I can give more usage to Chase Brown. I can sign a cheap veteran back and draft somebody on day 3 with one of my multitude of day 3 draft picks. I can get 4 yards per carry by taking Ray Davis in round 4 and having him be my more physical back and not pay that guy $6 million. I think that is the most likely outcome and the one that, frankly, I would pursue if I were Cincinnati. So what do you think the Bengals will end up doing with Joe Mixon? K for you want to keep him, C for you want to cut him. Go ahead and sound off in the comments section. One of the more intriguing free agent targets for me is Michael Onwenu of the New England Patriots. The Athletic again mentioning him as a top free agent target. Here's what they wrote. The most enticing maybe target of the cycle is Michael Onwenu. The bidding war will be a problem, and he could be viewed as too expensive. If his market explodes, as some thinks it could, he's out of their range. However, at 26 years old, a proven quality starter, and a versatile offensive line piece for the Patriots, Onwenu would be a perfect fit and check every box as an example of where the Bengals are willing to spend more for a big splash. The question is, will he elicit a bidding war, or will the plethora of draft options tame his market? Having bounced around in recent years from center or from guard and tackle, which I think is a beneficiary thing for the Bengals, Onwenu I don't think was as good this year behind a shaky Patriots offense unit overall or alongside of them as well. Run blocking kind of dipped this year, but he's been a good run blocker in the past. A slightly downish year does not turn me off from him whatsoever. I think deep down the Bengals would like to sign a starting option. I don't think they want to have to enter the draft with nobody at right tackle who they feel they could start right now. I don't think they want to be in that spot. The issue is, those guys are usually pretty expensive. You're not normally finding, we signed a starting caliber right tackle for $5 million. It's not normally how it goes. You can find a lower end backup at that price tag, but there is a dearth of offensive line talent, and it's why guys like Jonah Williams might get like $16 or more million. You can get Onwenu for less than that. I have a ton of interest because of this part. Let's say you sign Onwenu. You plan to make him your right tackle day one. If somehow a tackle you are in love with, whoever it is, J.C. Latham, Aluf Shanu Falls, whatever, you take that guy at 18, you can put Onwenu over at left guard. He's played there before, and then you can bench Cordell Volson, and now you've upgraded your offensive line while not having to take that right tackle in round 1. Maybe you can draft Byron Murphy or Johnny Newton at defensive tackle instead. Or maybe another player falls to you, you fall in love with, a receiver potentially. Name a player who you want to sign in NFL free agency. Drop that player's name for me in the comments section right now.